Good morning, everybody. Jen Green here. Sorry for being a little late. Dan changed his password on Zoom and I didn't know what it was and he wasn't here. So I had to, and now you're obviously seeing that it says Dan Green on there, but it's Jen Green. Thanks you guys for being here with me. I am just going to set this up so I can see myself again on Facebook. Okay, perfect. Now I can see it. So if you guys have questions or any comments or anything along the way while we go today, please feel free to ask, put them in the comments. I can see you. I don't have Katie with me today, but we'll be posting just some information about Property House a little bit later after we have gone live. And then, like I said, if anybody needs any help with anything, like I said, we're always able to reach out. So again, thanks for joining us today. We are actually supposed to get a huge snowstorm today, which I'm actually very happy about because it has been brown here lately, and I'm celebrate Christmas, so I'm looking forward to having a white Christmas, which will be lovely. But then tomorrow, it's going to be freezing, so there's that. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Thank you. We'll have one more of these before the new year, and next week is our bonus week, so we'll talk about that a little bit too. Excuse me. But for those of you, like I said, that don't know who I am Jen Green. I'm part of Property House Partners. We're located here in the metro of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and we more or less help folks out of situations who need to sell their homes quickly, namely foreclosure, which is something I'm going to be talking about today, divorce, incarceration, bankruptcy, probates, inherited homes, if there's too many repairs, there's any kind of these situations. And you know, we always take care of you. We usually provide 2 or 3 different offers that make sense. Hopefully one of them makes sense for you. And if not, like I said, that's okay too. But please always check us out on our website too. You can see some of our stories and some of our testimonials of some of the folks that we've helped. That's at propertyhousepartners.com, and the house is spelled H-A-U-S. And then we'll also, like I said, be posting some information in the comments a little bit later about how else you can get a hold of us. So today, I wanted to first I wanted to give an update on the foreclosure and eviction moratoriums. It has been extended until January 31st for evictions and foreclosures. Now, those are only the foreclosures that have been through the enterprise, more or less, so Fannie or Freddie backed loans. I think I've posted that multiple times on our lives for how you can see if you have a Fannie or Freddie backed loan. We can post that again on here too, just in case you haven't seen our previous lives. Oh, Dan Green is posting. Okay, well, Dan Green is here helping, so thank you, Dan. But you can post though, like I said, you can, we'll post all that stuff on here too. So I did want to say though what I think that means, and while I think this is a positive thing, of course, because it's, you know, postponing more foreclosures for folks, I do want to make it clear though that there are still foreclosures happening. I will be honest, I've had quite a few appointments in the last couple of weeks to help folks avoid foreclosure, and I just want everybody to be aware of that. The other thing I think we need to also think about is being proactive about the situation that we're in, right? Unfortunately, I've had too many times where I've tried, you know, we've been trying to help folks and they bury their heads in the sand. And I mean this with the most kindness. This isn't the time to bury your heads in the sand, because here's what's going to happen is that the longer these get pushed off, right? Then, I mean, I hate to say this, but and again, I don't know what's going to happen after everything is lifted, but I feel like a floodgate type situation may open. And then some people are going to get lost in the mix. I was talking to my coach, Rachel, yesterday actually about this. And she said, you know, back in the, 2011, 12, when a lot of these foreclosures were happening, there were a lot of people that sort of got left by the wayside that wanted foreclosure, but the banks couldn't get it and that get to them. And then their foreclosure ended up actually happening. And they couldn't really do anything about it because it had happened and the bank wouldn't go back on it. And so please be proactive about this. If you have a foreclosure right now that keeps getting postponed, know that at some point it is going to happen and you are going to need a solution. All right. And so please contact us. I am more than happy to talk to you about what your options are. There are, depending on the situation that you're in, the financial situation, your loan situation, there's lots of different things that I think we can do. As long as I know what your story is and what your ultimate goal is, we can come up with a plan to help you out of that. All right. So Dan and I were actually, like I said, wanted to talk about this story just because I know I've mentioned it several times and on some different podcasts and interviews that I've done, but I thought it would be kind of good to get into the nitty gritty about it today. And the reason I say that is because, you know, when I say I help people out of foreclosure because I've been there, well, I have been there. And I think it's worth sharing that story because I really, truly do want to help, and our team really wants to help folks out of foreclosure because it can really be a devastating effect, not only on you personally and mentally and financially. You know, it goes beyond that, emotional, it follows you for years and can really kind of stunt your turnaround if that's something that you're looking to do with your life. And so I actually had Dan, he still had the file. And so this was all of the stuff that we had for our short sale. And much like the folks that I meet with, there's a lot of information that we have to provide, you know, to the bank. And it was kind of surreal going through this and looking at the application that we actually did, because this is the stuff that I help people go through right now. And, you know, one of the biggest things that we have to do is to, you know, tell the bank of what's happening is write a hardship letter. And looking back at that hardship letter, it kind of actually brought tears to my eyes a little bit because there was a lot going on in our life at that time. This was in 2011 when this all started. We had just gotten married, it was 2012. We had just gotten married in July of 2011. And I lived in a condo in downtown Minneapolis, and Dan had a house in North Minneapolis. And we ended up moving into my condo and we lived there. And then we were going to rent out Dan's house in North Minneapolis. And so there were a few things that we had to do to get it ready. And, you know, so we worked on that and then rented it out to a couple and, you know, did all of our background checks and did everything we were supposed to do. And little did we know that in the 3 weeks time that they lived there, the cops were called 7 times to the house for various reasons. And the point where they'd kicked the front door and they'd spray painted walls. They threw a TV through the wall. They broke windows. They lit a fire in the carpet in the basement somehow. I mean, it was just like the most ridiculous, like horror story of rental. Like, this is not trying to keep people away from rentals, but just saying this stuff happens. And Dan and I were new to the rental scene and we had no idea really what to do. We went through eviction process, everything. They actually ended up just moving out because that was just kind of what we decided, is they're like, we'll just move out. And so I said, fine, that would be great. And they left. Well, this plan was, because Dan didn't have a ton of equity in his house because he had refied, bought in 2006. I mean, the height of the market, he had pretty much overpaid for the house. And likewise with me, with my condo too, I did as well, just because everybody sort of overpaid at that time since we were in the bubble. But what we did was we're like, okay, we'll have a better chance of selling my house. I'm not really underwater. So why don't we we'll fix this house up again. We'll move back into the North Minneapolis house. We'll sell the condo. And this is just how it will be. Well, I also found out that fall that I was pregnant with our first child, and living in North Minneapolis for us was not really something that I wanted to do. Parts of it are a little tougher than others, but it was something that I didn't want to be there. And so we found another house to move into, and we put my condo on the market. We were going to try and rent out Dan's house again. And we put my house on the market. It had an offer on it. And then we bought our new house in Northeast Minneapolis and we're set to close on that. And so we did, and we moved into our new house. And then I think a week later, we were supposed to close on my condo. And little did I know there was a lawsuit going on with the association. And so the closing didn't happen, right? And so here we are stuck with 3 houses. And, you know, and I just found out I was pregnant. I mean, it was a whole mess. And so long story short, we knew we could sell my condo. We could support, the 2 mortgages at one time, but having a third just obviously didn't make sense for many reasons. And so we knew that, Dan was way underwater. It was pretty much foreclosure row where he lived. And we had to let the house go. I mean, it was just like the worst feeling. And we did not want to do it, but we didn't really have a choice at that point. And so we ended up finding, I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was an agent that we used and, put it up for short sale. And we had an investor invest in the home. I think Dan owed about $140,000 between 2 different mortgages. And this house sold for $60,000. There was a good amount of work that had to be done because being young and I'll just say not super aware of how to take care of houses at the time, we left the water on at his house in North Minneapolis that we weren't living at, and a pipe burst over the winter, and we went to go see it, and the whole entire basement was flooded. And so that was bad. Like, it was really bad. Like, there was like a good 2 feet of water in the basement. There was ice everywhere. I mean, it was a total mess. So thank goodness we did have insurance, and it was because of pipe burst. But I mean, that was, like I said, at the point where we're like, this doesn't make sense for us to keep this house, because it needed, a good $30,000 worth of work. And we didn't have that. And because we were behind on payments on the house, the bank took the insurance check. So we didn't have anything from that. So that's another lesson, to know that if you are behind on your mortgage payments and you get any kind of payment, your insurance will be taken by the bank. So they had to sign off for it, and they just kept the check. So we didn't really get any insurance money out of that either. I mean, it was just like one of those things, like one thing after the other. And so, like I said, at that time, it didn't make sense for us, and there's too much work that had to be done. And so, like I said, we unfortunately had to not pay the mortgage anymore. And looking back on it, like I said, this right here, this was our hardship letter. It was 2 pages because there was a lot going on. Now when I help folks, we don't have to get super detailed into it, but we just felt like we had a very compelling story to tell. And so we did. And, like I said, looking through all of this stuff and seeing the foreclosure notice, and just seeing how much turmoil there is when folks are going through this is, it's really humbling to have that experience. And like I said, to know that I've been there. And so what ended up happening, like I said, Dan's house, an investor came and bought it for $60,000 and got us out of that mess. And the thing about Dan too is that there were 2 mortgages on Dan's house, a first and a second mortgage. And typically in Minnesota, we do not have, it's not a deficiency balance state, but when there are 2 mortgages, it is possible for the second mortgage to come back for that balance that wasn't paid. Thankfully, there was some laws that were passed at that time that did not allow for that. But again, certain things right now, like with that, can vary in terms of who can come after you and how that works, and deficiency balances, and getting 1099 for it as income, even though it's not income. There's a lot of different pieces that go into foreclosure that I am very, very, very versed on at this point now, like I said, because we've gone through so many. I mean, I've written probably over 50 short sales or so for people here in the metro, and continue to do more every day. And like I said, I'm afraid of maybe what's to come. And again, I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to figure this out, but I always want to keep the notice out there for you folks that this is a time to really be thinking about what you can do. Because the thing is that when foreclosure happens, it can affect your work, it can affect your credit, it affects your capability to be hired. If you're also in a place where there's security clearance, that can affect it. Obviously affects your ability to get any kind of loan for an extended amount of time. But with short sale, it's a different story. Short sale, yes, your credit's affected, but it's for a very short amount of time. It doesn't show up on your record as your credit history as a foreclosure. It just shows up as, that the payment was settled. It doesn't affect your work. It doesn't show up anywhere like that. And so Dan took a hit to his credit for, I'd say, about a year and a half or so. And then it's now, I mean, it's been years, obviously. Now this happened in 2013 when we closed on everything. And we closed on Dan's house at the, or no, we closed on, so we sold my condo finally. It took another year because of the lawsuit that was happening. But we closed on Dan's house, I believe, on May 28th. My condo closed on, I think, like May 3rd. And then I had my first son, Kellen, on June 5th. So it was, it was really kind of a relief to have that stuff done before Kellen came. But again, it's an experience that we don't regret it. It wasn't obviously the best thing that we've gone through, but I think it also just gives me a little bit more compassion and empathy and understanding for what folks are going through that we help. And it truly is probably one of the most favorite things that I do. Now, obviously, it's not a great situation, but if we're able to make something better out of something that was absolutely terrible, then that's what we're here for. And that's what I enjoy doing, is truly helping people. And I've done that my entire career. I used to work for a nonprofit and was in that industry for years and loved it. And I'm still part of it. And it's just helping people in a different way. And so we don't really see any repercussions now anymore. Years later, we're 7 or 8 years later right now in it. And like I said, it's kind of a distant memory for us. It does come back up now because, like I said, there's some, obviously there's a lot of talk of foreclosure and short sale and all these things that are happening. But I think that's important for you folks to know our story and what we went through, and know that, should you need help from Property House, know that we've been here and we've gone through it. And I truly have all the best intentions of helping as many folks as we can if it does come to that. My one suggestion for you, though, too, is please be proactive about this, because again, I have no idea what's going to happen when all of this ends and the forbearance, periods are ending, and also, forbearances on mortgages and all of these things. Like, we don't know what the fallout is going to be. I hope and I pray that it is not what it was back in 08. I really do. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but if that is the case, we are prepared to help as many people as we can through this time and come up with a solution. Is it short sale every time? No, it's not. I mean, I really pride myself on being creative and coming up with solutions for folks to take them through and walk them through and hold their hand through the process, because that's what it's really about, is getting people out of bad situations. And the team that we have is exquisite at that, and everybody knows what to do to help in the best way that we can. And so I want to thank you guys. This was pretty a vulnerable situation and position to put myself in here on Facebook Live, but I think it's really important to talk about this, and also to the end of 2020, and it's coming. And I think everybody is excited for that. Not that obviously turning over a new year is going to change everything automatically, but maybe we can kind of put to bed some of those difficulties that happened, in the last 9 months, and maybe perhaps look for a brighter 2021. If it's not looking so bright for you, though, in terms of your house, if you have been, like I said, in a postponed situation of your foreclosure, please know that it will happen. They're not going to ever cancel it. It just may happen at a later time, but it's best to be proactive about it now and make a plan and have that set in place before the floodgates open, if they do, because I don't want you to be forgotten in the mix, right? I want you to be important and your situation to be taken care of. So even if you're not located in Minnesota, I am still able to help you. Even if you're not located here, we have boots on the ground in a lot of different locations. And we're able to help in that way. Or even if you just have a question about foreclosure, please feel free to reach out to me, personal message me, shoot me an email, whatever it is that you need. We're here to help in any way that we can. So thanks, you guys. Next week is our bonus week. I think it's December 30th. It'll probably be very close to obviously the new year. And that one's going to be a surprise in what we're going to do. But I appreciate you all for joining me. Should you have questions, like I said, please reach out. We're here to help in any way that we can. Again, Dan has posted up some of the information to have how to get a hold of us. I will also come back in a little bit later and post the FHFA announcement on the eviction foreclosure moratoriums. And then also we will post some more about how to find out if you have a Fannie or Freddie backed loan. Best thing you can always do, like I said, though, too, is contact your bank. Always be in contact with them and see what they can do to help if you haven't filed for forbearance yet and you feel like you need to. So thanks, you guys. Have a happy holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. And we will see you guys next week. I hope everyone has a great week. And next time you see me, we'll probably have a lot of snow on the ground. Can't wait. See you guys soon.